Good morning and welcome to Mornings with a Stranger. So, today I have a question for you, my watchers, for Walgreens and CVS and who knows who else. Is this a reasonable accommodation, do you think? And do you think this is helping our public health? So here's the situation. So I needed to get a third-party COVID test. No big deal. The situation basically led me to needing to go to a pharmacy, and basically what was left for me was Walgreens or CVS. Fine, no problem. I call up them to determine, just because I've never done this way before. And they said, well, it's a drive-through test. I said, okay, that's cool. I don't drive. I don't have a car. I'm not able to drive. What do I do? Well, you need to take an Uber or a Lyft or a cab. And my public health mind goes into action because the first thing I'm thinking of is you're asking me, a person calling about getting a COVID test. You're saying, hey, we would like you to get into a car with a stranger who drives a bunch of people around all day and then, might even as another job go take care of my grandma. We'd love you to go hop in the car, you person who might have COVID. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But, okay, fine. I will do it. I will get a cab. I will get an Uber. Make an appointment, right? I'm not, like I said, never done this before, so I don't know how this works. I'm like, okay, do I pull into a special spot? What's the situation? Not the case. So anyway, luckily I have wonderful friends and they took me to go get my COVID test. And the first thing we get there at the appointed time, a couple minutes before, we were not too early. There were like 2 or 3 cars ahead of us. We sat in that line for over 20 minutes. So having this appointment time is very fascinating to me. And then we got in they had addressed me at the window, got my name, all that stuff. And I don't remember how long we sat, but I know we commented at 18 minutes that they hadn't actually come back to help me yet. Now, in their defense or whatever, they said they were putting in a new system that day or very close to that day that had to do with insurance. So, okay, I understand it's going to take a little more time. But I'm also thinking if some poor Uber or cab driver has taken me on, they're like going to be sitting here freaking out when I'm like, hi, I need a COVID test to the lovely pharmacist. So, anyway, we were there for well over 20 minutes waiting, got the COVID test, did it, got all that done, fine. But here's my question on, like I said, multiple levels. Is this a reasonable accommodation for somebody who doesn't drive? Like, there has to be a better way, whether it's a designated spot, standing outside the store. And granted, I live in Minnesota, so in the winter that's gonna suck. And you gotta get there, but I would suck it up if there was a place to be, a place to wait, a place out in the parking lot to wait. Like, you can do this. It took no time at all. What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. If the systems are in place, here's the test, stick it in your nose, give it back. All right, go away, right? That takes very little time. But the concern I have is how much time it did take me. So had I been an Uber or a cab, the amount of money it would have cost is one thing, not the biggest issue. It is a concern for people. And if you're sitting there and you're watching your dollars and you're already stressing about you might have COVID and how many days of work are you going to lose, et cetera, how much money do I have to pay this person? Are they getting pissed at me? Are they even going to sit here and wait while we're sitting in the car? I don't know. I want to hear from Uber, Lyft cab drivers about your experience with this. And I also, again, it's that public health aspect of, you're asking me to sit in a car, even if I am masked, with another person. Granted, this is where it would be good to have like the best mask. That's arguable as to what that is, right? What would be the best thing? But you're in a car, breathing space, with people locked in. And granted, we were in the summer, so we could have the windows open. Not a big deal. I pretty much knew I didn't have COVID. I was pretty confident of it. I didn't have symptoms. I was doing this for a thing that I needed it for, that I needed a third-party test for. But had I had symptoms or had questions about having symptoms, how would that have gone? So anyway, I did call Walgreens basically because I wanted to talk to them about this and ask, basically like, help me understand how this is helpful, right? The amount of spreading, like how many people have gotten COVID because of Walgreens and CVS and who knows what other pharmacies, because of their, rules on this. They're just, again, there has to be another way, right? If we're saying we're taking this seriously, and whenever I tell this story to people, they're like, maybe COVID isn't as big of a deal as we think it is, right? I mean, is it question mark with the, this is the pharmacy creating these rules, right? And I've often noticed some, the places that are supposed to be the most health conscious and aware of these things making some very silly decisions. I have been at places where I have a fresh and better quality mask, and due to their rules, they want me to put on their less quality mask. So it's just procedural, it's not logical. And I've also been in a few places where they've looked at me and went, oh, you've got a way better mask than we're going to give you. Yeah, you're not, no, don't change that, right? Protect me, protect you. So anyway, I want to hear from people. I want to know, I'd love to hear from Walgreens. Like I said, I called them twice. They said they were going to back me 12 to 24 hours, or no, I'm sorry, 24 to 48 hours. Never heard a call back either time. And to me, I'm kind of like, okay, so you're part of the problem. Our own pharmacies are part of the problem. I thought perhaps we pull up in a particular spot, or there's a waiting spot, right? Like, I understand having a person walk through a drive-through isn't the most safe, although sometimes when I have happily needed to get food at a place during COVID and I couldn't go in, happily people were willing to serve at a non-busy drive-through, and that is a reasonable accommodation, right? We tell people to get out and walk. We want to be this great country of health and fitness, and then we're like, oh, sorry, you don't have a car, you can't get food. Again, not a reasonable accommodation. So I'm thinking on this from an ADA level. That doesn't seem like a reasonable accommodation. Certainly on a public health level, there's nothing about this that my public health degree self says this is a really wise idea. And the worst part is when it's your pharmacies, when it's your health places, right? Your people that are supposed to be the most health aware, basically saying, here, let me help you spread COVID in our community. It's very disturbing. I find it very disturbing. So that's my question. Like I said, I want to hear from everybody, because I want to know, I just want to know what people think. And I want to know, for people who have done for pharmacies or whatever, what accommodations have you seen made or had made for you if you're a non-driving person? I can imagine for some people, if you are somebody who has, an immune system issue that you're concerned about with getting COVID, or an elderly person, and say you don't want to be in the car, or that borrow their car or use your family car because maybe, other people who drive it are have issues, their COVID makes it more scary for them. You using the car and then them using the car. Now, I know that it doesn't hang out and a good airing out does it, but there are multiple reasons that there could be concerns there. Yeah, and I can imagine there are other reasons as well that could be a concern. So I'd love to hear from other people who don't drive. What accommodations have you found that have worked when you've needed a drive-through test? There are, in my community, there are other options, but honestly, one of the other options in my community is going to a public place where there's a ton of people that I've gone to, and I've gotten colds there twice, 2 other colds. I have not gotten COVID, thankfully, but I've gotten sick because that's the only place that I've been with other people. So that's the only, in a couple situations, it's the only place that I was. And so the public place where there's a bunch of people herded together to get their COVID test is not the place you want to be if you have COVID, or if you're trying not to get COVID or trying not to spread COVID. Now, granted, I guess your random Uber driver is only one person. Who doesn't get much of a say. You may not know, right? Might be a family member, could be a Uber driver or a Lyft driver or whatever the case might be. And I know that sometimes there are places where we have to give, but this seems like one place that there could be another solution. So Anyway, I look forward to your responses, all of you. I'd love to hear from Walgreens and CVS, or maybe you could just return my call. That would be cool. I'd love to talk to you about it because I'm very curious. On an ADA level, does anybody out there work for the ADA? Like, has this been a complaint that you've gotten? I tried to figure out how to reach the ADA, and I don't remember if I actually, you know what, I didn't, because I was waiting to hear what Walgreens said before I contacted the ADA. Just because I am thinking this is one of those things we've got to figure out. Like, if this is going to continue to be the thing in the future, we can't just say, I'm sorry, you don't drive, you either don't get a test or you get to infect other people. When to me, it's like, well, if Walgreens and CVS and other places can't figure this out, some onus should be on them creating how to figure this out, as we have with many other things. Again, there's a way to problem solve this. I believe that sitting a half an hour in a problem solving table with a bunch of people, we could figure it out. So, and I just was surprised they didn't have like a special parking spot for those people who had an appointment. You know, you make an appointment and it's kind of like, well, what's the point of having the appointment times if you're waiting in line with everybody else? I mean, I understand that it's controlling how many people come through, but it also seems like a little bit of a misnomer and then kind of a silly thing to do that as well, because everybody else can come through that same line. So many questions. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the other videos that we've got about a bunch of other stuff. And I look forward to hearing from you on the comments below. Bye.